Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to EnvironMental.
Yeah, welcome. This is our podcast where we investigate different aspects of sustainability. Each month, we choose an aspect to dive into, and then we talk about it. We read a book about it. We talk to an industry leader, and then we give an overview and like how brands can address that aspect of sustainability with their business.
Boom.
If yes, if you like this and you want to hear a change maker chat or you want to hear our book review for the month, the best thing you can do is subscribe. It's really easy. It's like
Yep.
there's a red button, you push it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, these podcasts are ever evolving. We are constantly learning, and if you want to journey along with us, then follow along.
Subscribe.
Join the party. Yep. Yes, my goodness. Okay, this is our third official topic now we're moving into. So it's been a really interesting process of starting this podcast and kind of diving into these different topics and then kind of seeing what we learn and where they lead.
Yeah. They
And
lead to another aspect of I keep thinking maybe eventually we'll get to the root source of it, but I don't think that's happening. It actually feels like it's getting bigger, not smaller.
it's definitely getting bigger. Yes, this month we are getting into a very big topic because last month we were chatting so much about packaging, right? And packaging waste, and when learning about some of the sustainable packaging options that are out there, it uncovered this topic that we're going to talk about this month. Because we found out and kind of knew, but also learned that paper and cardboard are one of the more alternative or more sustainable alternatives for plastic packaging. But then that led us to question.
Yeah, how sustainable is it? How you have to cut down trees. So yeah, this month we're going to talk about deforestation. And what a topic it is. We realized today that we are relatively uneducated around the issues of deforestation that arise from it. We have some basic knowledge, like what you learn in school, but I think neither one of us is really satisfied with what we currently know to be the big issues and what those potential solutions could be.
Right. And yeah, so really our goal is to try to kind of figure out if not only, okay, is paper and cardboard packaging actually negatively affecting deforestation, which we imagine it is to some extent, but we don't know to what extent.
Right.
And so is that actually a sustainable option? We really want to see and think about these systems in a bigger way.
Right.
So that we're making more informed, smaller decisions, I suppose, with what we're actually recommending for brand owners who want to make sustainable choices.
Yeah. And consumers that want to make better lifestyle choices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things we learned last month, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot, is that the FSC, when is a forest certification for paper products that is sustainable. It's for virgin paper, which means that it is essentially just like a sanctioned forest that you can cut down, that mills can cut down trees to make paper out of. Here's the issue that I have with that is if I have a growing business and I have a forest that is like FSC certified to be able to like cut down. But my business is growing, like it takes like at least 20 years to be able to grow those trees back so that I can cut them down again. So how do they rotate
Mhm.
that and grow? It doesn't seem like that's actually like that's actually a solution,
Right,
you
right.
know?
Well, okay, so to back up, the FSC certification means that yes, you have a bank of trees that you can cut down because you're also planting new ones.
Yes.
Like, so
Yes.
that's the
Sorry.
requirement, is that you are at least replacing what you've taken in theory. But like, right, how it takes so long for a tree to grow to be able to be
Right.
large enough to get paper out of it.
Right.
So
If I
how does
cut a
that
tree
temper out?
down today and
You
I
cut a
plant a
tree
new,
down.
if I cut a tree down today and
Oh,
I plant a new one,
I thought you said you did. I was like, what? Okay.
no,
Yeah, hypothetically.
hypothetically,
Mm,
if I cut a tree down today and I plant a new one, even if I planted a new one a year ago because I knew that I was going to cut the tree down today, like wouldn't it take roughly 20 years or something for the FSC certification to be worth anything? And in that amount of time, is my business not going to grow? Or do I not eh, think that it will? Am I buying more land?
right.
And now
That's a
I'm buying
really
more
good
land
question.
to cut down? Like,
It's
why
it's
does that
almost
make
like the
sense?
FSC. It's like saying that a 50-year-old tree or 100-year-old tree holds the same value as a tree like a sapling, a little baby.
Right.
It's like putting those on the same kind of value scale, because it's like, oh, you take one and you planted one, so now you're at net zero. You've done no damage according to FSC. But like that's not true, right? Because yeah,
Right.
then like
Right. That tree's holding tons of fucking carbon.
yeah. And what if this sapling like doesn't survive?
Right.
Then what? And so yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's a actually a great
It doesn't
solution.
seem like an actual great solution, right? Although I think this month will look deep. That's one of the things I want to look deeper into is like
Mhm.
how, because honestly, there's got to be something we're missing. It happened so fast that we like connected all those dots that there's no way that other people haven't and that they haven't found a solution for it or some way that works. And maybe I'm just being pie in the sky, like optimistic for these, but like,
It's
you
an
know,
interesting question though, because it's like, you know, to some extent, yes, being at least making the pledge that you will plant a new tree in place of the one that you are removing is a step in a positive direction. And if that's its only purpose, then sure, okay. But like then we really shouldn't be putting that certification on a pedestal, because it's like that's not the full picture. That is really like a
right,
micro level
totally.
of of thinking that a full size tree holds the same value. Like a tree is a tree, and that's just not true. Like what?
Right.
No.
But I did see a really interesting tweet today, and I don't remember who it's from, unfortunately, that said, stop saying that planting trees won't help. So because it will help, it is not the only solution.
Mhm.
And this person they were really open, being like, nope, it's not the only solution, but it is a part of the solution. And if
Yeah.
we stop planting trees, is that's really not helpful. So, like,
Right.
no judgment. Please plant trees. I just wanted to like blanket statement that like, please go sow seeds, plant trees,
Yeah.
whatever. But we are saying that for this certification to be effective, something else has to be going on.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, we're not saying that like what the step that they're making is a good one, right? It is far
Right.
better than an industry that just takes and does nothing in return.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what is we have a lot of questions when it comes to deforestation, actually. I think we have
Yeah,
more
yeah,
questions than
we
like
do.
any other topic. And it's understandable, because this is a much bigger level conversation than our previous topics, where we started out talking about recycling and then we moved into packaging and packaging waste. So those are kind of like smaller,
Yeah.
single focus things. Deforestation is a multifaceted, massive issue.
Right.
And
Right. It's also not it's not, it's also like worldwide and more nature based and conservation based than it is like a man-made infrastructure.
yeah,
Like forests.
yeah.
Deforestation is predominantly a man-made issue, but it's not focused on a man-made structure. It's like
Hmm.
it feels a lot.
It's a consequence of
Right.
some man-made industries.
Right.
Deforestation is not an industry itself. It is,
It kind of it.
it's the
Forestry is the
forestry. Yeah.
yeah. Forestry is about, and we just for one of our clients we interview someone every month, and and they interviewed the founder of the Berkeley Herbal Center, and she actually started out in forestry because she wanted to teach people about plants, and when she found out that forestry was about cutting down trees, she was like, bye.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a really cute story. She was like, forestry, oh, this is not what I wanted.
This is the opposite.
Yeah, yeah.
I would have also assumed that forestry meant like conservation, but
It
no,
does not. It means how to
logging.
best cut down, yeah, how to best cut down the
Jesus.
tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, yeah, deforestation is not like it's such a broad term. I mean, it literally just means like the act of cutting down a tree,
Yeah, but down wide areas of
wide
trees.
areas of trees.
It's
Okay.
not, yeah, it's not like I cut down a tree, or even like I cut down a few trees to make my cabin. It's like I cut down a forest to make a city,
I see.
or to grow crops, or like make paper or whatever. It's specifically cutting down a very large amount of
Okay.
trees.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
That
Yeah,
was what I understood when I was
it
like reading
is.
about the actual definition.
Mhm. But like, okay, so that the examples that you gave in terms of like, yeah, why do these forests get cut down? Like that's something I want to like learn over the course of this month is like what is actually the main contributor to deforestation right
Mhm.
now.
Yeah, is there one? Is there one, or is it just like a general thing?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it just an expansion of humankind?
Hmm. And are we using wood at the same rate as we used to, as we always have been? Because like, I mean, it's back in the day, like what, the 1800s, like they would just cut down forests just all the time, because they were making
Mm-hmm.
everything out of wood. That was the main resource that like we had in the Americas for building for
Yeah,
forever.
but houses in the
Not
States are
forever.
still made out of trees.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're still made out of wood.
Still made out of wood. Yeah.
So that wood has to come from somewhere. It's probably from a logging company that um, grows trees and then cuts them down.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. That's like my background is that I'm from Michigan, and most of my family lives in northern Michigan, and actually we have like a little compound there where my grandmother used to live. She passed a couple years ago. She lived like on the same plot of land as my Aunt Kay, and like Aunt Kay still lives there, and there's a dirt road, and then that backs up to National Forest. But their property on the other side of the dirt road, it has all these like trees on it, and we figured out that a logging company, it was actually owned by a logging company, and all the trees there are in straight lines. And that's why we
Oh.
were always like, that's fucking weird. Like there's trees in straight lines. But actually, it's because it was owned by a logging company. That
Mhm.
logging company had left it alone for 20 years, which is how long would, like, this is several years ago. I was like 15 or something when this happened. But they had left that piece of land alone for so long to allow those trees to grow that they then wanted to come back and cut all the trees down. Now, this is like directly across the road from my family's land.
Mhm.
And they were like, no. And they bought the land out from underneath the logging company, and then we just let it grow wild, and we use it to camp, and we like own that land so that, and we just let it be
Mhm.
because essentially we just didn't want that logged. But
Mhm.
that's my understanding of how these logging companies operate now, is that they own like big pieces of forest
Mhm.
and then they cut down like trees and then they do regrow them because they need to continue their business, and they
Mhm.
just leave that land alone for 20 odd years or something. And they,
Interesting.
in this part of the forest, they use pines because pines grow really straight and they can be lined up,
Yeah.
and they only need to grow like this big around or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, but that's like, that isn't, that's certainly not sustainable because
Yeah.
you're like
Well, but is that
monocropping.
different? But is that's yeah, it is monocropping and there's disease over there. But
Yeah.
is that different from what the FSC is doing? Like, isn't that just how logging companies operate? They have to operate that way to a certain extent, especially
Right.
in the
That's,
States.
yeah, right.
Like,
Otherwise, they would be cutting into the potential profits that they could make. Like, it's in their best interest to have more trees.
right.
Like,
So they should always be growing them, and like they should have enough land so that they can every 20 years cut down another piece of their own land, right?
yeah.
Like when you graze cattle, they graze over here and you have a fence and then you like
Mhm.
move them over so that the grass can grow back, and then like,
Yeah. What is that called when it's like, you like move your crops around? Oh my God, that was a term that we learned in school and I don't remember it now. Uh,
I don't remember either. I should know that being from a farming country.
yeah,
I'm
we're
from farm country.
from farm country.
You
It's,
just it's like rotation, right?
yeah, I think something like that. Yeah, it might just be crop rotation, which is like, yeah, I mean, it's something that they found to kind of work because if you continue to put the exact same crop in the same soil, it will
Right.
not be as strong.
No, it can't. Different crops use different nutrients. That's how they
Hmm.
work together. That's how regenerative ag works. Is like this plant and this weed growing next to each other, they put nutrients into the soil that the opposite one needs and takes out the one that they're given.
Yeah.
But monocropping, I think that one of the things that I'm really interested in is actually monocropping, because I remember I feel like it was herb school where I learned about chia seeds, and maca, particularly maca, is one of those crops that grows in really specific climates. So like indigenous peoples, because maca is something that they can sell for a lot of money, like will turn their field into like a monocrop situation.
Mhm.
They'll cut down their forests and then monocrop like the maca, and then um, not be able to like grow anything else. And if one disease happens, then the whole crop is bad. Like how how much of, and then it's like, okay, well, how much of deforestation is contributed by because of agriculture?
Mhm. I mean, from what I understand, that I've always been taught that it's like a significant portion is agriculture, not only
Mm-hmm.
from forests that they're cutting down to plant single plants like coffee and things like that, but it's also for cows, for grazing space. Like
Yeah.
that's, and maybe that's like not true. I don't know. I
I
mean,
think it has to be
it
true.
has to
There's
be. Yeah.
like,
There's so
yeah,
many cows that yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that I've consistently heard is contributing to deforestation.
yeah. Meat consumption is a really
Hmm.
big issue. I would actually like to spend a month on meat consumption at some point. Um, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, because I think that does lend itself to deforestation and also like increased carbon footprint. And it's hard to, like, that takes so much water to
Yeah.
raise a cow and so much land and so many resources. Like, it's, and ooh, sorry, and it's not completely necessary to eat as much meat as we eat now.
Not at all.
So
Yeah.
not at all. So that's something I'm
Yeah.
curious about. And curious about the solutions for that, because just being like, stop eating meat, that's never gonna work. That's gonna piss off a lot of fucking people,
Right.
and then they will eat more meat. Like, humans are just, they're vindictive. Humans
Yeah.
are vengeful. Let's be clear. Let's be honest. Like, we just are. We're not going to change that. So how do we? And they also don't. We also don't react to things like logic because we're emotional. So you have to like emotion. That's why people stand around with those like torture chamber videos of like the torture chamber. They're like slaughterhouse videos
Mm-hmm.
because they're
The like,
so
vegan
emotional and
activists.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the activists, because those they're so terrible of animals in slaughterhouses.
Yeah.
They're like, that's one of the best ways to like touch someone is through that emotion.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that also just makes people really angry. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and when it's something that's so ingrained in our society and people's daily lives, like choosing to be vegan is a big change for a lot of people who are living like a pretty typical life,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote, whatever that means. Doesn't mean a whole lot, but like, kind of.
Right. People
Mhm.
eat meat.
Yeah. It's a part of traditional society. So yeah, just kind of
Yeah.
saying people should change that is going to be quite a challenge. But
Right.
I mean, are there's so many potential alternatives, right? It's like, okay, we could try to come up with um, better meat alternatives so people feel like they could eat vegan proteins, or is
Right.
it like cutting down on the amount of meat, or is it should we find a better way to actually farm these animals?
Right. Or do we, right, that is more expensive. Like,
Yeah.
do we go to industry level
Hmm.
and increase the expense and increase the requirements that they have?
Yeah.
Like, meat is cheap, right?
I
Like,
think
meat
it's
is a
so much more
cheap
expensive.
commodity. It doesn't need to be that. Like,
Mm. It
that's
shouldn't.
crazy.
It
It shouldn't
shouldn't.
be that.
Yeah.
It's a life. Like, I'm a meat eater. I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. I eat meat once or twice a week, maybe. Rarely have it in the house, but like, I buy good meat because that ensures that well, hopefully ensures that animal is better treated, and then
Hmm.
there's not a bunch of hormones in it, et cetera, et cetera. This is not a podcast about meat, it is about deforestation. But like, I mean, it's such an important, they're so
Yeah.
intricately tied.
Yeah.
I think we can't cover one without touching on the other.
Yeah, I know it's it's pretty impossible, especially when it may very well be the leading contributor to deforestation.
Right.
Which yeah, I mean, over the course of the next few weeks, we'll definitely be investigating that and learning more. And I'm
Yeah.
really curious to understand what is actually the cause of this, and has the
Mhm.
cause changed over time? Has
Yeah, that's good.
the, has what has contributed to deforestation changed? And I'm sure that it has.
Right.
um
And has it changed insofar as like everything is growing and something just grew faster? Or, like maybe like meat farming was not the biggest type of production we had before, and all of a sudden it's like become a major part of deforestation,
yeah.
or yeah, maybe logging has changed. And so that has actually has less impact on that deforestation now because those have changed.
Hmm.
If you hear construction sounds, it's because I live in a construction zone. My house upstairs. Ask me about that sometime. Like, so
Or go back to
yeah.
some previous episodes where you've talked about your house. I don't know what episode it would be, but our podcast talks about it for sure.
Yeah, any episode where I'm not in this room, I think, where I'm in the one with the foresty background, because
Hmm.
that was when I was working at a co-working space. Because we didn't even have the room. At least I have the room now. It's great.
You have an office now. It's official,
I,
but
it's so nice. Um,
yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Oh,
Yeah.
the contributors, like what industries have changed and how have we gotten kind of where we are. I'm
Yeah.
also really curious, kind of on the opposite, the flip side of that is like what laws have changed.
Hmm.
Like, was there something that was like protecting the rainforest that has been removed? Which
Right.
the answer to that question is definitely yes.
100%
um
yes, but I don't know
what
particularly what. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, like what protection was removed,
Hmm.
and what protections have been replaced. Like, I'm
Hmm.
very curious in terms of like lawmakers, because we can control who we vote for.
Hmm.
um so I think that's something to take really seriously, because we want to look at this on with all aspects of sustainability, of course, on a consumer level what you can do, on an industry level what you can do, and on sort of a political level, like what can you do there, what can you ask for, what can you use, how can you vote with your like money and your attention and your what am I looking for, you can write letters, I guess.
Your actual vote. How can you vote with
Yeah,
your
your
vote?
actual vote, you can vote with
Yeah.
your vote. um
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it, and I'm sure that's different for every country, but
Hmm.
it would be really interesting to kind of see, because for sure, like deforestation was a massive industry, or just forestry was a massive industry in the United States for a
Yeah.
long time.
Hmm.
And there's definitely now protections of some areas of forest, right? And there's laws about this stuff, but yeah, where have these laws kind of popped up, and
Right.
where are is, because deforestation is not just a it's not related to any one area. It's global.
Right. Right.
So it would be interesting to know more about, like, yeah, kind of how are different countries dealing with this,
Hmm.
because it's not something
Yeah.
unique to any particular group of people.
No, it's not. And we don't have global laws about stuff like this yet. I think that we're on that track, but we aren't there yet. So
Mhm.
deforestation is a global issue, not a United States issue. The amount of carbon we have in the air in the United States definitely impacts the amount of carbon we have in the air in Europe. Like,
The air is the air. Yeah.
the air is the air. There's one cloud. There's one atmosphere, y'all. We're
Mhm.
sharing all of our air.
Yeah.
Like that. So, which, yeah, we didn't really think about. We didn't really know until we knew. And then it's just been a struggle to try to like migrate towards these sustainable options. And I think like it's moving in that direction. It's moving a bit slower than I think most of us would like to see, but it is going there. And like, I'm really curious. You asked a question earlier before the podcast. Was like, when did this become a problem?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like, and I didn't know what you meant at first because I thought it in two different
Yeah.
ways.
Definitely didn't mean it in like a like, well, this is like not a problem. It's like, what are when did we consider it a problem? But yeah, there's like there becomes a point where somebody had to start to realize, and
Right.
I don't know when that like kind of critical mass was. Like, yeah.
Right. When did we realize it was a problem? But also like
Mhm.
when we were probably super fucking late on that, right? Like when did it actually become a problem? Like how
Yeah.
much of the world should be forest for us to be safe?
Yeah.
You know, like trees are trees and habitats and ecosystems, like these things are so vital for keeping us like to be able to breathe, or you know, like when the atmosphere changes, so do all of the ecosystems within it. And when we
Mhm.
cut down a bunch of trees and we affect the atmosphere, now we're affecting all of the animals, and tomorrow
Totally.
we're going to wake up and lobsters are going to be like the size of fucking dinosaurs, like,
Or dead. Yeah. I
or
mean,
dead.
yeah.
It's going to be one or the other, right? Like last time there was this much carbon and there's those shitloads of carbon in the air, all of the stuff got really big.
That's true.
Lots
That's
of stuff got really
interesting.
big.
Yeah, right. Like what's the equilibrium?
Right.
Like what is, yeah, what is that the amount, and does it also matter the quality of forest? Like
Oh
a
yeah.
forest of monocropped like cedar trees, like if we just covered everything in a bunch of cedar trees, yeah, it would technically be a forest, but because there's only, that's not supporting biodiversity, which is so
Right.
critically necessary in actually creating like a healthy environment. So like,
Right.
where's the line? And I don't know if there is one. I don't know how to
I don't know
define.
if we know it. I'm
Mhm.
sure that there is one, but I don't know if we actually like know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if we did know, maybe people would stop cutting down the motherfucking rainforest, right? Like one
I,
thing I don't understand, and I know that it comes back to like money and greed, but we know that this is a problem and it keeps happening. And I'd like to understand why. And partially it feels like, yeah, money and greed, and people don't care and people don't realize about ecosystems, and it's like
mhm.
kind of a narcissistic level of bullshit. It also feels a lot like environmental racism. People just
Mhm.
like don't care about indigenous spaces.
Yeah.
But there's a level of like not caring about other people's stuff and like, or other people's environments or homes, and a level of like you're literally ruining the planet. Like one of them is just
Yeah.
like you're a narcissistic fucking asshole,
There's no
you know. And the
accountability for,
right, and the
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like who, yeah, and who takes responsibility for that? I mean, it impacts all of us, but like, whose responsibility is this forestry and deforestation?
You know, this happened a while ago, but I remember you were talking to someone on Twitter, and it was like he kept asking the question of like, yeah, but so
Hmm.
what kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Like,
is it bad?
is
Yeah.
it bad? Like, and I think that was a really interesting frame of mind, because I think it perhaps is hard for people to change their behavior if they don't
Hmm.
know the full real consequences that will happen to them. Like it is such a, and
Right.
again, it's such a egocentric way of looking at the world, but
Hmm.
but I'm inclined to say that a lot of people fit into that category of that way of thinking, that like,
Hmm.
unless I know how this is going to negatively impact me, I'm not going to change my behavior. Or like I'm
Yeah.
getting too much like positive reward in the in the way of like money and business, that I'm not going to change my behavior. Why would I? You know, and like,
Right.
so yeah, I don't know.
It's just
But I don't
so
know what
hard for me to
industries.
get there. It's
Yeah.
just so hard. Like, I just can't, and I just read a
Yeah.
stat that said like Africa and most African countries like combined make like 4% of the world's like waste, but they are taking the brunt of this massive climate change issue. They're like, the water supply is shrinking and the biodiversity again is shrinking, and it's becoming hotter and hotter and hotter.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't get there. And maybe that's why we do what we do. Like, it just seems impossible to be like, to learn that my behavior is impacting someone else, even if it's one person, like
Mhm.
in such a negative way that I just can't imagine not stopping that behavior.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean,
but on the same note, Tom's working with wood upstairs.
right. And like I've eaten meat that I didn't know the source of. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I go to McDonald's sometimes. Like this is the same. I mean, it's sort of like that's such a minute level, but I think that it's kind of the same
Right.
frame of mind is like, well, this is still what's happening. We're still living in the society right now. So like,
Right. So how do we, yeah, what's that solution there? That's why I think like giving the brand solutions and like industry level options has to kind of be the way to go. Like, as consumers, we can make so many lifestyle choices. That's great. But there comes a point where it's like extremely expensive and extremely difficult
right.
when if there is no industry option, right? Like,
There just has to be more, yeah, regulations. People who are more forward thinking and who are able to predict the science is out there, but it's like it's actually getting people in positions of power who believe in that science, and I think making, you know, more regulations in terms of volume and what needs to happen when
yeah.
they're like when a tree is cut down, and having more standards on that is kind of, I mean, like industries don't regulate themselves. That is just, we know that to be true.
Right.
Like
Right. That
a
doesn't,
business, a traditional business owner who is profiting off of like exploiting their resources is not gonna just wake up one day and be like, you know what? I'm gonna change it all.
yeah.
Like,
I'm just gonna stop
no,
this.
they don't ever get, what is that Ebenezer Scrooge moment? Like they don't, that doesn't happen. you know?
Yeah. Maybe
And
that's what we need to do.
we just need to visit all the billionaires with like the ghosts of climate change past.
The ghost of climate past. Yep. The ghost of climate present and
Future.
the ghost of climate change.
Fuck, yes. I think that's what needs to happen. I
Yeah.
mean, society has taught me that that's the only way to change people's minds.
Rich people in particular. Rich
Yeah.
rich narcissistic people have to be
Yeah.
visited by ghosts. That's what I know.
That's all I got. Yeah,
That's our solution.
that's the solution I bring to the table.
Yep. That's the solution to all of the environmental issues. This podcast is over.
We fixed it, you guys.
We solved it.
Just kidding. We are kidding. We are kidding. Um, I don't know. Yeah, this will be a tough one, and I'm really,
Yeah. It
yeah,
feels like there's so much to learn. I have
yeah.
so many questions. Did I say them all? No, I didn't. I want to know where where things have been most affected.
Yeah. That's a question I had written down as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
Like
that
right
that has
now we
changed over
hear,
time too, but
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Like right now we hear a lot about the Amazon and the different rainforests, but like it kind of feels like that's all that's left. Like there were tons of forests beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it feels like all the forests around us are gone. So now the big problem is the rainforest. We should stop cutting it down. But like how has deforestation changed the landscape that we lived on? I mean, humans forget things after like 3 generations, that we're not connected to those things anymore typically. So what was the world like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 generations ago?
Yeah.
Don't know. So yeah, I want to know that.
Yeah. Yeah, this one will be a really interesting one to start researching. Um, but this is the level of information we're starting out with here, people. So if you if you know more about deforestation, then definitely enlighten us in the comments. Um,
Yeah.
and if you don't, then join along with us in the process of
Yeah.
learning, because um,
Knowledge
yeah,
is power.
yeah, the more the merrier. We need more ghosts of climate future. So you guys work with us here.
Yeah. Come on. I'm
Yeah.
stoked to be able to learn about something. I feel like, I mean, we learned a lot about packaging and recycling, and that's information that I'm using super regularly now. But I think like I'm really excited to learn about this issue because it feels like it's really big and something
Mhm.
maybe we can learn about and change a habit that we didn't know
Yeah,
was impacting it, you know?
absolutely. Yeah. And this one is one that like we're definitely coming to the table with the least amount of knowledge already.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting, which I think is great. That yeah, there's going to be some of these topics which we kind of know about a little bit, but as we kind of get deeper into this rabbit hole of sustainability and sustainable alternatives, um, there's going to be a lot we don't know, and that's the beauty of
That's the whole point.
that is the whole point. That is why
That's the
we
whole
started
point.
doing this publicly.
Yeah, it was like we could, yeah, we're like, maybe we could do it, I guess privately isn't really the right word, but like we need to
Yeah,
learn more about
yeah,
sustainability in general. So we were like, okay, let's pick a topic every month. And then we were like, that seems like a lot of extra work to be doing and not sharing.
yeah.
So we changed our podcast to this because we had a podcast for a year that was called Off Brand, and that was fun and it was really great. But I think I like this better, actually.
I do too. Yeah, I mean, yeah, as adults within a career path, you don't have a whole lot of like opportunities to like dive in and learn stuff that you wouldn't experience in your like normal day to day. Like, of course, you should always kind of be like learning about your industry and stuff, but this feels like it's just a cool way to kind of continue to expand our knowledge, which I really like. And it's not something that
Mm-hmm.
I would have ever been like, I wouldn't have ever come across the opportunity to like want to dive into the topic of deforestation. You know, like I work with websites, like that's
Right.
there's not a whole lot of connection there, though I might be surprised. Gosh, running,
Yeah, I'm wondering about that because I keep seeing all of this information coming out that feels really new and topical, that like just because it's online doesn't mean it's sustainable, and
yeah,
that like all of our data is physically stored in places.
yes,
So like are is Google cutting down forests to like
for
build
servers.
servers? Like
Yeah,
what's
I
going
think
on? What is
so. Yeah.
right? I want to know.
Hmm.
I'm gonna write
Right.
that
Yeah,
down.
that's a good question. Yeah, to what extent does the online world actually contribute to to potentially deforestation. It definitely contributes to climate change in general. So that will be a cool topic to dive into.
Yeah, I really want to learn more about that. I don't know how to find a book on that topic, but
I'm sure it exists. Yeah, we've got some people in our circle that have kind of been talking about that recently, that like
yeah.
you know.
If not a book, I think at least like like research papers are out there. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
But yeah, man, it's really interesting to sort of see how all of these things intertwine and kind of lead into one another. Like as of right now, I mean, this is the first episode of our deforestation series. I don't know what our next series is going to be about, because like might uncover something that like is totally worth diving into, then, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't know
We
yet.
don't know
So
yet.
yeah.
Yeah, it could be big ag. It could
Mhm.
be like water. We're thinking it might talk about
That's something we
water.
want to talk about. Yeah, eventually.
Mm-hmm. It might be like the online
Mhm.
impact of things, you
How the
know.
internet is contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. I think that is something very worth diving into
Mm-hmm.
someday soon. Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Yeah. So
I'm stoked.
subscribe, follow along with us.
Subscribe.
Oh, check
We'll
us
have
out.
more information and actual answers in the upcoming podcast. If you
Mhm.
have some of these questions also, we're going to answer. I wrote them down, so we're going
Mhm.
to answer these. If I think even if like the book doesn't answer them,
Yeah.
or yeah, we'll do extra independent research because these are important questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they are definitely important, and yeah, the book that we're going to be reading this month um isn't like fully nonfiction, just kind of
It's
it's
not a business
a
book.
rather,
It's
yeah,
not.
it's not
Yeah.
about like the industry per se. It's really more of like a single person's perspective
Mm-hmm.
and their fight against deforestation.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's an indigenous man in the Amazon rainforest,
mhm,
I think,
mhm.
and his experience with deforestation in his like culture and in his like home. It's going to
Yeah,
be
so
heavy, I think.
it will be, but that will also be a really interesting perspective to have that neither of us do. Uh, yeah, so kind of, I'm very interested to see what that will bring to light. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's called Save the Planet. Um, yeah, let's see,
Do you have the author's name?
Almir. Oh my, I don't have the pronunciation. Almir Narayamoga Suri.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely put it written down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should put a phonetic spelling also.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the book cover here, but yeah, Save the Planet. An Amazonian tribal leader fights for his people and the rainforest and the earth.
I'm so excited to
Wow.
read this book. It's going to
Yeah,
be so beautiful. I'm already like tingling about it. It's
it's
going to be
exciting.
so
Yeah, yeah. So stay tuned for a book review on that one.
next week.
Mhm, yeah. The,
Yeah.
this is what
I
we'll
think
uncover.
that's
Oh,
I
mm.
think that's it. That's all I have.
Yeah, I think that's it for this week. Thanks for following along, guys. Yeah.
Thanks everyone.
All right. Have a good week.
See you
And
next week.
bye.
Bye.